social media is not this massive lead gen opportunity for attorneys. It just isn't, right? Like most people aren't gonna, they get in a car accident or, they're having a family law situation. They're not gonna go on Instagram and search family law attorney. Like it's just not how people make buying decisions. Mm-hmm. They would Google it. And if they're Googling it and they're getting to your social media side, what we're looking at more is social proof.
Well, hello and welcome to the J. Sterling Hughes Show, where we share the secrets and the strategies of how we are building a rapidly growing family law practice. Over the past 9 years, we have grown from 0 attorneys to 24 practicing attorneys and about $15 million in revenue. And my purpose here is to document what's working and what's not working in our firm with hopes that you can take that and you can recontextualize that for your practice and shorten your success curve. And I have an incredible guest with me today, Paul Mackiewicz. Paul runs Honorable.Marketing. And I first heard Paul, I heard you on another podcast, and I was just enraptured with what you had to share. Just your information was so spot on and quality from a standpoint of helping lawyers grow and build their practice. So Paul was gracious enough to come on my show and share with us some of the strategies and tactics he uses with helping lawyers build their online presence and manage that. So Paul, with that, what have I left out? What's your story?
Yeah, I guess the biggest things for me is I'm a military veteran. So I pride myself on efficiency. So I'll try to be as short-breathed here with some of these answers. I do tend to ramble on occasionally, but a big part of building my company and my agency was I've never been very good with mentors. I always wish that I had better mentors, but sometimes you got to look in your history and learn what not to do as opposed to what to do from some people. And I was, blessed, lucky enough to be an early hire for a company called Main Street Hub, which some people may have heard of. They used to be the largest online presence management company in the US. They were bought by GoDaddy for $140 million probably about 5 years ago or so. I was one of the very early people in there. I think it was the 15th, 16th hire in the New York City office. And I actually had to build my own desk and all that. A year and a half later, when I was ready to move on, I was managing a team of 60 people. And, we hit the Inc. 500 fastest growing companies list back-to-back years. Absolutely amazing experience as far as learning really more about online presence as opposed to before that. I did some social media management. I, had built websites growing up, things like that. So I had a rudimentary understanding, but actually digging into what makes business owners unique and special. That was something that I emphasized certainly a lot during the sales process. And I found that, that ball kind of gets dropped as you hand that off to the production side, kind of no matter how well you put those notes in. And eventually in New York City, I met the future wife. And she had a job opportunity in Miami. And luckily I was at a point in my life where I was like, yeah, you know what? I'm very value driven. I'm very useful for a company. I'm sure I could find a digital agency that needs somebody. And I started working with a company called Honorable.Marketing.
Okay.
Super cool company. I'm still very close with them. And they worked much more with attorneys as far as SEO and website design were their two big things. So as the director of business development, I came in there and I kind of adjusted some of the services that we had so that we could form a little bit more high level online presence management. They weren't doing any social, so we did some limited social. They weren't really doing anything reputation management. And so I introduced a little product with that. And things went awesome. We hit the Inc. 5,000 fastest growing companies list 2 years in a row. Okay. So I spent 4 years in a row hitting these awesome growth milestones. And then the wife got the dream job offer out in Los Angeles. And I had just been promoted to the VP of Client Success. And came to the CEO of OTM and said, hey, I'm super excited about this opportunity, but I'm going to do it from California. And they were based in Miami. So luckily, we had a great relationship and he didn't want to lose me. So he gave me the opportunity. He said, hey, while you're out there, you might as well open up a sales office. And so me and another sales guy went out there and we opened up a sales office and kind of built out the West Coast piece of that company. And then...
What year was this roughly, Paul?
6-7 years ago or so. So I'd say 2017, 2018.
Got it. Okay.
And then while I was out in Los Angeles, we all have those moments in our life where we succumb sometimes to greed or, grass is always greener. And I had a gentleman come to me and offer me a boatload of money to come and help him build his digital agency. So I jumped at the opportunity, right? As an opportunity to provide for my family and we weren't married yet, but I was working on that engagement ring, all those things. So I started working for this guy and I built up, in just 9 months, we had 24 clients, about 10 people, 10 employees. So we were fast growing. I hit the ground running. I was ready for this opportunity to kind of be a leader And before then, I always saw myself as like a really good number two. You know, you give me a vision, I can execute. And this is my first opportunity to kind of have something that I built myself. And we're doing very, very well until one day I got into the office and got a call from one of the other financial backers of that company and told that that gentleman had been sent to prison for 25 years. And they had been keeping me in the dark about it all because they didn't want to distract me, was what they said. So
he had a criminal case going on without anyone knowing about it, apparently.
Yep. Yeah, without even informing us.
What was it 25 years for? What did he do?
Child pornography.
Oh my. Okay. Ugh.
Yeah. Yes. And it's crazy because that's one of those, again, those moments in your life. I've got a lot of them from the military, and that's probably my best example professionally of like, you just really don't know some people, right? They can put on this facade and keep people in the dark. But suddenly I had 10 people looking at me asking me when they're getting paid, and I had no answers and I had nothing really to give them because I, unfortunately, as much as I felt like, oh, this is my thing that I'm building, I wasn't the financial backer and it wasn't really my company. So that was my kick in the ass to, all right, I think it's about time I go do this myself.
Yeah.
You know, I had learned a lot between Main Street Hub and OTM and just built a company that I wanted to be more rooted in a lot of things that we learn in the military, like the Army core values. You know, there's a good acronym: loyalty, duty, respect, selfless service, honor, integrity, personal courage. Look at this. My drill sergeants would be very proud of me for still remembering the Army core values. Because the Main Street Hub, the average client lifespan was about 6.5 months.
You mentioned, I think that was a reputation management company.
So they did more mobile websites, reputation management, social media. And then On the Map did more websites and SEO. So between the two, I got a real kind of deep understanding of total online presence management. And I had this crazy idea in the marketing industry of like, what if I just never lost clients? What if I just, wasn't a sales organization, but we were actually a production organization that brought in some sales every once in a while. And so when that company closed—
What do you mean by production organization? I haven't heard that in this context.
Where my clients come first and foremost before any new sale. If I have conflicting, hey, here's a new sales opportunity and here's a current client, I always err on the side of taking care of current clients.
Okay.
I always want to make sure that the production side, and that's one reason why we haven't grown incredibly fast over here. We've grown steadily, about kind of how I envisioned it. But it's because, I have 10 employees in my company. I'm the only person that does sales.
Okay.
Everyone else is website developers or production assistants or graphic designers. Everything is designed around making our current clients very, very happy.
Okay. And I think I distracted you here. So going back to that, the dirt ball goes to prison. Okay. Get good riddance there. You're left looking at these employees, looking at you saying, where's my paycheck? And that's when you decide to start Honorable.Marketing at that point?
Yes. Well, initially we were actually called #SmartMarketing.
Okay.
But I'll get into the name change here in a minute.
Okay.
But it was, I still have one guy, my CPO, my Chief Production Officer. I call him my Renee Zellweger, because that's truly like how that moment felt, like Jerry Maguire. I was like, guys, so I guess guys go home because I don't think you have jobs anymore, but I'm going to go do my own thing. Who wants to come with me? Yeah. And he's like, I'm in, man, let's go. And so it was literally me and this dude sitting on my couch in West Hollywood going, all right, so what do we do?
Right.
Like, what do we call ourselves? And side hustle in Miami where I'd help people set up their smart homes. Like their Google Home or their Alexa and hook it up to the lights and do this, that, and the other.
Okay.
So I already had an LLC called #Smart. And I was like, well, that's kind of how we want to look at online presence, right? You want to do things efficiently. You want to do things the smart way. You want to ensure that you're covered everywhere, but not adding this massive task to your schedule. So let's find efficient ways to do that. And that was kind of like our initial idea with it was online presence management, but with a bigger focus on retention and being like a one-stop shop, like an extension of the law firm as opposed to a contractor brought in there. When I moved to Greenville, I changed the name to Honorable.Marketing because one, smart is a double-sided sword, right? Like talk to my friends and I said, hey, give me the top 10 words you think of when you hear my name, when you think about me. And smart wasn't in them. But not that I'm not a smart guy, but that wasn't something I identified with. But one thing that 9 out of the 10 of them had on there was honorable.
Oh, wow.
As if I say I'm going to do something, I get it done and things like that. And so I felt that really matched the ethos that I wanted to instill into my company as well. Is, if we say we're going to do something, we get it done. If we demand pretty open availability, if a client calls me at 8 o'clock at night, I still answer the phone, because I can take that. We have efficient systems that I can, hop on, boom, 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 send the note. It goes off to the right people. And, there's no reason that I can't take a 5-minute phone call to solve a problem that obviously an attorney's thinking about, because it's 8:00 at night for them too, right? So let's handle this right now, and let's move in the right direction. Let's be action oriented in everything we do. So a lot of things that I've been able to pull from the military side, plus some of the shortcomings that I always saw in the marketing industry, has allowed us to really, build a company that I can be very proud of here with Honorable Marketing.
So just describe what all Honorable Marketing does for law firms in particular. Most of my audience are lawyers and family lawyers. So how would you take care of a family law lawyer?
Yeah, it's a lot of it today is what Gary Vaynerchuk talks a lot of the time about, like attention. Attention is everything in marketing today. And there's really two pieces of that. That's awareness. They have to understand you even exist in order to pay any attention to you. And then there is what you do with the attention that you do get, and how to use that kind of like synergistically with everything else that you're doing. So we look at total online presence as opposed to digital marketing. A lot of people say like we are a digital marketing agency, and I'm soured on that as much as law firms are, right? Hearing the phrase digital marketing, because for one, you're at the whims of algorithms. You're at the whims of Google and their PPC, and how many bots are clicking ads, and it's like always an uphill battle when you're just thinking in a digital marketing mindset. But when you start thinking about it in online presence, then marketing gets fun. Then you start getting to think about what makes me special. Why would somebody choose me over the guy down the street? With some of these massive firms that are 10, 12 states, why would somebody choose, like a Morgan & Morgan, or would they choose a local PI? Yeah. So understanding that stuff, I find that I turn into like half business coach, half marketing extension of the company, is because so many lawyers, you're busy. You're in court.
It's almost like you offer fractional CMO services for law firms.
I am listed as a fractional CMO for a few law firms.
Okay. Interesting. Okay.
But that's also something I extend out to even our clients, that we handle their entire online presence. Generally, my fractional CMO services come if they have an in-house marketing team, or if they're already working with a marketer that they feel is doing pretty good, and they just don't want to, rock the boat by changing everything. They might bring me in more in that consultant role. Most of our clients, though, we manage their entire online presence, because
So when you say the entire online presence, give me an example of what that could look like for a smaller family law firm.
Sure. So it's generally website design, SEO, search engine, social media management, reputation management, business listing optimization.
Okay. And paid search, I'm assuming, in there too?
Quite a bit of paid search, but I have a partner company that we have to do most of our paid search.
Okay.
He came from Scorpion and kind of didn't like what they had going on. He's extremely good at what he does. And so when him and I had met each other, we kind of satisfied some needs for each other. He was saying, hey, I love running paid ads, but the worst thing is running a paid ad to a garbage website. Can you start helping these people out? I'm like, yeah. Well, I don't like running paid ads because I don't like having to pay attention to algorithms and, bot clicks and validating users and things like that. I was like, so maybe you handle that stuff. So we certainly have the resources for it. But
okay. I'm sorry to interrupt you there, Paul.
No, you're fine.
Okay. On the social side, what does managing their presence look like practically? Are you doing production, content generation, or are you just placing? What goes on there?
Yeah, so I'm a little bit too brutally honest sometimes, for my own company's growth good. Social media is not this massive lead gen opportunity for attorneys. It just isn't, right? Like most people aren't gonna, they get in a car accident, or, they're having a family law situation. They're not gonna go on Instagram and search family law attorney. Like it's just not how people make buying decisions. They would Google it. And if they're Googling it and they're getting to your social media side, what we're looking at more is social proof. If they're looking at your social media, there's probably only maybe 5 tops attorneys that they're considering at that point, right? Or it's real early and we want to build an emotional connection with them real quickly. So your social media, one, it has to look professional. How are they going to feel comfortable that no part of their case is going to slip through your fingers if, your own social media looks like doo-doo and you got a lot of that slipping through your fingers, right? So, one, you got to look professional. 2, you want to give people reasons to like you. We all buy from people that we like. So while there is the benefit of, say like on the PI side, $30 million case and like highlighting big verdicts and big settlements and wins, that's nice. On the family law side, that's not necessarily, going to pull that emotional string. But having smiling faces, showing rectified families, I had a sales mentor one time, he used to always talk about selling the sizzle, not the steak. Right? You're selling an end all outcome of, hey, if you come to me, I'm going to handle your situation. I'm going to be heavily invested in you. I'm going to care about you, be compassionate about you. And also, you can find ways to be relatable. I have one attorney, he loves John Wick. So we do like John Wick posts on his social media because he loves it. He's like, this is cool. This is something that and he gets comments on it and stuff. I have one naturopathic doctor that we work with who loves Harry Potter, right? Wow, and so, we were having a hard time figuring out like what that special thing is. He's like, oh, I have good bedside manner. I'm like, oh, great. Everybody does. Like, what can we do? And he's like, well, I'd like going to Hogwarts with my grandkids. I'm like, that's it. we can do some Hogwarts. So you got to think of your social media as it's an extension of your personality. So ensuring that the services you have, you're highlighting those every once in a while, any wins that you can. If you're not getting these big verdicts, that's where the reputation management side comes in. Highlighting good reviews and even your responses to those reviews. And we could get into reputation management in a little bit here too, but the last thing on the social is just give people reasons to like you. If you do the same thing as everybody else, you're gonna get the same results as everybody else. And if you're a family law attorney, I'd say maybe 20 to 40% of them are successful and constantly, growing and things like that. The rest of them are people that are, doing what everybody else is doing. And so now it's just a massive muddled voices that nobody's really getting any attention because everybody's just doing the same thing. So you got to find ways to be different, to be unique, to sell what it is about your firm that is special, which is you as the attorney.
Yeah, that's awesome. So you mentioned reputational management. What is that?
We as a people are very influenced by star ratings. Okay. Amazon, you can blame Amazon and Netflix. That's who I blame. They're the ones that start throwing stars on things first, right? But, you've got your Google business listing, which is generally where about 70 to 80% of people first find a business. Because that's what's tied to maps, that's what's tied to, what comes up during SEO searches. Yeah. So your Google business listing has to be optimized. And you have to think of it of like, what could I do at the moment that somebody is finding this listing to convert them? Right before, I don't want to sit here and send them to my website. Now we got to hope that they click the contact us button. They got to hope that they click the call now button. Like you want to streamline this process as much as you can. But with the reputation management, it's kind of the same thing. Like if on your website, you're highlighting all the good ones, but on your Google business listing, you're not even responding to reviews. What is that saying to every single person that finds it? That you're just turning your back and you're walking away. Somebody could be saying the nicest thing about you ever, right? Like Jeff Hughes is the greatest attorney ever, but you just don't answer. You just turn around and walk away. Yeah. And
your firm will actually respond for the lawyers?
Every single one.
Oh, wow. Okay.
Good, bad, indifferent. They took time out of their day to leave feedback. Why would you as a law firm not take advantage of that opportunity, that low-hanging fruit to deepen that relationship? Not only with that person that left the review, you potentially could get referrals or repeat business out of it. But the next 10,000 people that are going to see this, you are now showing the type of customer service that they should expect. Yeah. You're establishing that early. That doesn't just go for you.
I'm sorry, Paul, keep it.
Yeah, no, you're fine. Like I told you, I can ramble, man. But that doesn't just go for your Google business listing. Like a lot of law firms forget Yelp, and Yelp is the main data source for all Apple products. So if you have an iPhone, just be like, hey Siri, find me a family law attorney in the area. All that data is coming from Yelp.
Okay.
So if you didn't claim that listing and optimize it and tell it what you do and get a few reviews over there, that's a huge missed opportunity for so many law firms, especially because Yelp ranks well from an SEO side. So say the number one guy for family law in Milwaukee, say his website is 3,000 pages and you're just never going to get that, right? He started doing SEO 10 years before you. You're not going to catch him, right? Yeah. But Yelp is number 2 or 3 on there. That's when, say, like running Yelp ads might be an interesting option because, PPC, you're maybe looking at $60 a click. A Yelp ad, maybe you're looking at $4 a click. But it's number 3 in SEO. So a decent amount of people are clicking on it. And now you're showing up on top of that. So thinking of smart ways to kind of like, let's take advantage of the competition in the area, where the attention is, and jump on that. And then obviously you have to get good reviews. You have to answer all those reviews. Same thing goes for Avo, for Justia. All these different places where if somebody's reading reviews, you're real close to getting picked. Yeah. Right. They're at that last moment of the decision-making process here. You got to jump on it and be sure that you look as good as possible.
Yeah. So as you're talking, that the Yelp thing, I don't know if our firm even takes advantage of that. So that's a great tip there. A hypothetical question here. So you're a family lawyer. You're just getting started. Do you have a playbook for how you would help a new firm kind of get off the ground and start building traction? And what does that look like kind of in steps over the years to follow?
Yeah. So especially in the last year, a lot of things have changed in the marketing side. If I was starting a family law firm, the very first thing I would do is utilize something like Yext or maybe Sign Up or something like that to get the business listings and the directories just flawless everywhere. One, you never know where somebody's going to find you. Two, those are all citations back to your website that Google is rewarding you for. Business listings is truly like the foundation. Same with the review sites. You at least have to claim them all, be on them all, have some good imagery on them all. So I just worked with a rebranding firm, and it's kind of the same thing where you sit down and really understand who you are and the value that you present, and then start leaning into those pieces. If you're a military veteran, I would say get involved in the military veteran communities, right? Because I get so many business for people that just like, hey, my brother's a veteran and he talked about this company, and suddenly they're talking to me about their marketing strictly because I'm involved in a community, right?
And trust you.
Immediate level of trust. Start thinking about what it is about you that is special that you can highlight online. And then while you're building your website, one, I'd say, like, if I was to put it in a nutshell, is be a little different. So many law firm websites all look the same. And
your website, you eat your own dog food, so I'll give you props for that. Your website is all about your background and your military connections. I just love that.
Yeah, I mean, that's some of the value that we provide, right? Like, I talk a lot about why hiring military veterans. I hire veterans. Half my company is military veterans.
Wow.
Reason being is because I know they're action-oriented, right? I know they're honorable. I know that if they say they're going to be somewhere, they're going to do it, right? And that's how I want to be portrayed as a company as well.
I grew up on Navy bases, so I get the total vibe. My dad was military, so was my brother. So I interrupted you again, Paul.
No,
you were talking about, what was the last thing you were talking about for?
So we were talking about what we would do if we were a brand new family law firm.
Yeah. Okay. Yes. Okay.
So then, when it comes to like understanding who you are and the value that you present, I would, now that it's 2024, I would immediately jump out in ChatGPT and I would list out all of the practice areas and ask it for subcategories for every single one of those practice areas. And I would start generating content around those. Because if you think of like the low-hanging fruit, family law attorney, Atlanta, Georgia, that's going to be very difficult to rank for, right? And to get attention for, because it's going to be a crowded space, a lot of loud voices. But if you were, say, a family law attorney for, I could go with the military veterans things, like for military veterans, or for, 2 kids, like interracial marriage, divorce. Like you could play with all these different keywords and just drop them into ChatGPT and start getting like ideas of these different types of, different types of content that you can put out. And then also start looking at the areas around you that are underserved. So say if I was in Atlanta, I would search first my area. So say maybe I was in Kennesaw. I would search like Kennesaw family law attorney. And then I searched Marietta and I searched Woodstock. And I would start searching like the areas around me, see where the low hanging fruit is. I think that's one of the big mistakes we make as business people in general, right? Is we all have these, I'm going to be huge. I'm going to take over this big piece of the pie, right? But if you could just take over a small little piece of the pie, you get a little bit of stability around what you do. And that's one thing I help a lot of law firms with is like, hey, I want to be the biggest guy in Michigan. I'm like, great. Well, you're not the biggest guy in Detroit. So you gotta do that first. Like you gotta, walk before you can, or crawl before you can walk here. That's really where I see a lot of new law firms be able to just make a little mark early. Right. And then find some way to get involved in your community. Like one of my attorneys out in California, he goes and he speaks at the local police station for the after school programs. And I listened to him and I recorded it. And, one, I made awesome social content for like a month, right? I could chop it up and build out these little things. Two, it really showed, and it's something we highlight on the homepage of his website, is how involved he is in his community. If you're talking about those little things that someone's going to see and have an emotional reaction to, hey, this person's part of my community. I'm going to feel much more comfortable going with them than say like a Morgan & Morgan, right? Because they're multiple states. People, we like local. We like, being able to shake a hand. We like being able to know a face, have some commonalities and things like that. If you're a big fan of a sports team, post about sports, right? Like find those things that you can build bonds with, but also that are interest to you. It makes your marketing just a lot more fun.
Yeah. You talked a moment ago about putting unique content on your website, kind of letting your personality show through and your value system. And I know a lot of lawyers are really focused on that professional appearance. And so their websites tend to look like all other websites. So do you have any thoughts or best practices for how a lawyer can think about bringing their personality into their website and making it professional, yet something that people could connect to more easily?
That's a great question. I tend to push people in that direction because it is certainly not the natural inclination for attorneys to say, hey, I want to break the mold a little bit, right? And I think that's changing. For one, we've been designing some much more engaging websites. The other thing I would say is from not only a user experience standpoint, but also from what Google looks at in their algorithm. One of the largest things that determines SEO is the amount of time people spend on your site. And I would tell some of these attorneys that, like, if you just have this lots of straight lines, blocks, results, practice areas, just blocks and boring, people are gonna see that, they're gonna scroll down and they're gonna leave the page, right? And if they leave in under 60 seconds, you're not really getting credit for that traffic to the site. So if you can build out some more engaging elements on your site, not only is it showing off your personality a little bit more, but it's also positively impacting you from a functionality and optimization standpoint. What I would tell law firms is, one, you are not the same as everybody else. Right? Like, lean into what is special about you and find 4 or 5 sites that you like that aren't law firm sites and give that to your web developer or give that to, your marketing people. If you like a lot of white space, that's totally fine. You can do a lot of white space on a law firm site. You just got to do it the right way, right? You just don't. There's a lot I look at where, like, it's column, one column's empty, but you could at least kind of throw, something cool in the background of it that's not stealing somebody's eye, but maybe it's a parallax image where the text is moving, but that image is staying the same. And so, it kind of gives your eyes 2 different things to look at for a moment, and there you go. There's another 10 seconds that somebody's on your website, right? Thinking about some things like that, but just realizing that it's 2024. The brakes should be off right now. There's I can speak to it from a little bit more of a spiritual side if you want, but there's an awakening going on with people right now, where people don't like the big national brands. People don't like the big corporations. People want local. People want authentic. They want to know you as a business more so now than ever before, or at least modern marketing history, right?
Right. Yeah.
Google did a very interesting talk about this about 10 years ago. They started prepping people for it. They call it the 0 moment of truth, so ZBOT is the acronym that they use.
Okay.
But traditional marketing has always been like a 3-step process. There's step 1 where awareness, I have to understand that you exist. Step 2 is called the shelf. A lot of times when people are describing this in standard marketing, it's, I'm at the grocery store, I'm looking at 10 different boxes of cereal, which is the one that's jumping out at me that I'm going to pick up, because you got to get them at that shelf. And then the step 3 was always advocacy or satisfaction. After they're done utilizing your service, are you able to use them as an advocate to get future service? Did you satisfy them to get repeat business? Or did you fail at both, in which, they are not going to be a marketing resource for you in any way? So what Google started talking about was this 0 moment of truth. So now they understand you exist. They've been exposed to you. Now they're going to look you up. Right? They're going to Google you. They're going to compare you. That's where reputation management comes in. That's where social proof of, just having an active social media page comes in. That's where having a website that's engaging comes in, because now we have this comparison step because we all have these computers in our pockets, that the shelf is maybe not as important because, you want to give them a bunch of reasons to choose you before they even get into that. And so now, they're whittling it down to 2, maybe 3 options and they're doing it. Another thing with this ZBOT for law firms is like your receptionist, your call answering service.
Yeah.
That's, you made it through that first step of them actually be like, okay, I'm going to give them a call. But like, what did they hear? So I've actually helped a few law firms write out their scripts, of what to say when somebody calls, because again, it's all that emotional connection that people are forming.
Right.
When interacting with your business. It's an extension of what I'm doing. Right. So finding ways to enhance it and to optimize for it, can only benefit the firm long term.
Yeah. I asked you earlier about kind of a playbook for attorneys to start to build their online presence and get started. And I heard you talk about listings, making sure all your listings are, that's the low-hanging fruit, get those done. You talked about niching out in your keyword and your practice, going to ChatGPT, finding all of those really sub niches and sub niches and so forth. And then talking about content and getting in your community. Is there anything else in that playbook that you think should be mentioned?
I think that all firms should hire a marketing agency to start. I think it's just so hard. There's so much to do.
Yeah.
Right? It's
and it changes like every day. It's impossible for a lawyer to keep up with that.
Yeah, it's very, very difficult. And I've had a few firms that I've gotten them up to, 10, 15 lawyers. And I've said, you're at a point, I don't know that you need me as much anymore. You should hire some internal marketing people. I'll serve as a CMO. Let's get you, because then they can take pictures every day. They can really, reflect the firm in a better way. I'll happily train them for you. And so I've even looked at like some exit strategies with our agency if we're not serving the client as well anymore. But at that starting point, I mean, you really need some people that you could trust. And I've been doing a few talks recently on how to treat your marketing company. And you should be a pain in their ass for the first 60, 90 days.
What does that look like?
I would say first and foremost, at least bi-weekly meetings. There's a rule with VAs, if you've ever used virtual assistants, where for every 1 hour you invest into it, for every 1 hour that you want to save in your time, you have to invest at least 5 hours into training, teaching, follow-up on it.
Wow.
It's a great rule of thumb when you're thinking about a VA, because say you want them to go in there and clean out your email each day. You have to do it with them, 4 or 5 times to show them like what's important, what's not important. The worst thing in the world would be, suddenly you're not getting the emails that are important, right? So you want to be sure that they're trained really well on it, and you got to invest about 5 times the amount of time that you want to save long term. So now, I don't really look at email that much because I have a VA that does a very good job of organizing it and putting the right things on top. Your marketing company is basically the same thing, right? So you want to, one, they should be asking you very good questions. And if you don't feel like they're asking you good questions, you should ask them why they're not asking you those. Like some of the ones that we ask a lot is, if you could be any celebrity or author or historical figure as like your online persona, who would that be? What's fun about that is it gets some wheels turning. It's not like a direct, do you want to be, I always laugh when people are like, do you want to be funny online? Do you want to be professional online? Like, what is it that you want to be? You should be all those things, right? You should be adaptable online. That's what you should be. So I like asking the question of like, what celebrity would you be online if you could be anything?
Yeah.
And
I always thought I'd be Ed Norton. I can't even tell you a reason why either.
Hey, that's great. Like,
the most obscure one, but yeah.
The one I got not too long ago was Paul Rudd.
Okay.
I was like, I could do Paul Rudd, a little quirky, cute, but not too sexy, sure. I could do Paul Rudd for you. We could find some things. I have some people that say like The Rock, and I'm like, that's great. Like, let's be badass. Let's do it. Yeah. Think about how much I just learned about that attorney with a simple question.
Right.
Like that, right? And another thing that I ask a lot of times is like, what don't you like? Like, what don't you like about your competitors? What don't you like about law firm websites? What, because then sometimes hearing what they don't like, A, it makes our job easier to avoid those things. B, it actually narrows your focus on what's really going to benefit them. So with being a pain in your marketing company's butt here for the first 60, 90 days, I think it starts with a meeting at least every 2 weeks. I think that the next thing is making sure that they're asking you the right questions. If they're not asking you those questions, ask them why they're not asking you those questions. And if you'd like a list of questions that your marketing company should ask you, I think I just put a blog out about it not too long ago on our website. So you certainly can grab that and take that to them. The next thing is...
What is your website? Is it Honorable.Marketing.com?
Honorable.Marketing.
Oh, okay.
We're new agey here. We got a .marketing. We're moving past the .coms. But the last thing is ask them for their strategy around reviews. This is really where I find a lot of new law firms and a lot of marketing companies both kind of have a bit of a disconnect. First off, we have AI now. So you could take a review, you could copy it and say, hey, ChatGPT, answer this in a thoughtful and compassionate way that'll generate referrals and endear us to this client. Paste, enter. You'll get a really nice response. I don't recommend you just copy that and paste it right in. I recommend you still customize it from that.
Yeah.
But asking your marketing company, like, how do you get reviews? How do you help me get more reviews? And how are we going to answer these reviews so that our customer service is getting displayed online? If your marketing company doesn't have like a plan for that, I generally think that their headspace is not in the same as you. Because your reputation is everything as a lawyer. It's your name literally on the wall, right? So it's not the marketing company's name on the wall, and they're never going to think about your business as much as you will. Just never. It is what it is, right? My employees won't ever think about Honorable Marketing as much as I do. It's one of those things you just have to accept. And your marketing company is going to be the same way unless you be that squeaky wheel for a little bit. Get to a point where you really feel like they understand you. Where you really feel like they, we like to say in the foxhole with you, their interests align with yours. then they will be a good marketing company for you.
What are your key benchmark metrics that you want your clients to hold you accountable to?
Website traffic, it's a big one. That's a great starting point, because if you're looking at like analytics on conversions, it all starts with website traffic.
Mm-hmm.
So
these are unique visitors, or like, how do you measure that appropriately?
Yeah,
you can exclude bots out of that.
Yeah, what I'm trying to build is working backwards on financial investment versus the return. So if I know for every 100 visits to the website, you get a form submission, I can say, okay, cool. So every 5 form submissions, you sign that client. Great. So it tells me I need to get 500 people to your website to get you a return. Right. So it gives you the numbers to work backwards with. You can start working in Google Business Listings. Their dashboard is really great for this as well. You can see how many times the impressions people have had, how many calls have come from it, how many website clicks have come from it. You can also message directly through Google Business Listings now. So you can start looking at that as a conversion point. But website traffic is kind of the top benchmark that I always look at, because from that data and the amount of form submissions or phone calls coming from the website, I can determine an ROI and the actions that need to be taken to generate a positive ROI pretty quickly.
Okay.
Again, I'm a little bit too honest and truthful. You're not going to get a whole lot of clients from social. It just is what it is, but you can get some good exposure. That way you can run social ads to build up your community. Bigger your community, the more likely you'll get a referral. You can look at things that way, but it's just not going to be a huge lead acquisition opportunity. And then when it comes down to the paid ads, my big thing is, first, be sure you have a great landing page that highlights the value that you have right away before you start running any paid ads. Never run a paid ad to your homepage. You're setting those people up for failure, right?
Yeah. What are the components in your best practice components, would you say, for a great landing page?
Well, form submission on the top half of the fold.
Okay.
If you think of it like a newspaper, that very top thing. I want to see value, and I want to see how quickly I can contact you. Those are the main two things. Okay. That value proposition should be what it is special about you, what you highlighted in maybe that display ad, or what was in the wording of your PPC ad made them click it. Because if it was enough to get a click right there, it's also enough to probably tell them, okay, cool, I should take this next step.
Yeah.
Highlighting that in bullet format, I find is always the most impactful. So you got a headline, form submission on one side, headline, bullet points, boom. And then right underneath that, I like to think of whatever the biggest emotional connection that I can have. So this is generally like a tagline.
Oh, okay.
A tagline, or could be a testimonial, but you don't want to be like too long a testimonial, because you should have more testimonials as they get a little bit further down the page. But something right underneath this heading area, I like to put a little movement into it, whether it's like a Lottie animation or something, but something that's drawing their eye to that thing, because I'm trying to build an emotional connection right away. So I really like the taglines. They're probably my favorite. Or sometimes we do like some tiles of Instagram posts.
Okay. Because,
that's the whole goal of your social, right? Too, is to build that emotional connection. And so we've probably already got some really good graphics.
Yeah.
Following that, I look for some sort of social proof validation. So past cases, like what makes us different than the large law firms, or what makes us more involved in our community, like some sort of differentiation under that. So now you've taken their eye, try to get conversion right away. Then you've built a little bit of an emotional connection. Then you've provided social proof. It could also be testimonials. Then after that, I want to have more conversion. If they've gotten that far down the page, they obviously care, right? Like you got a little bit of something. You got the hook in the fish, we'll say, a little bit. Now you got to tug on it a little bit more. So I usually do a larger conversion area. So big form submission, or maybe contact buttons. Then I usually get into like a little bit of the who we are, maybe highlighting a few of the attorney bios, things like that towards the bottom. Because at that point, they're just looking for a reason now to choose you. And if they start seeing some faces of the people that they're going to interact with, again, you're trying to lay that framework as to why you're likable, why they should choose you.
Yeah.
But I think that's probably
a good formula. That's a great formula.
I was about to say, I've built so many. I don't know that I've ever actually described it as much, but I was just thinking through as I build them, what I'm always thinking and what I find works the best.
Yeah.
But I should write down that framework.
Yeah, that's a lot of social content for you right there, because that's some great stuff. You can really go deep on a lot of those, because you had some real good value there. One of my last questions here, Paul, what are some of the biggest mistakes you see lawyers make online where you just shake your head, say, come on, man, don't do that to yourself? What are you seeing there?
The biggest one lately is actually websites. A lot of law firms built their websites 5, 6, 10 years ago. They haven't updated them. They're going to become much more forced upon people because you have all the ADA, WGAC 2.0 issues going on right now. So that's probably been one of the biggest things I've had to fix over the last 2 years. Really big out in California, slowly coming east more and more, which that's just ADA compliance on your website is ensuring that, color schemes don't contrast too much, or having a button on the side that they could click on it if you say you had dyslexia and you can't read the website, they could go to an attorney and, you could receive that nasty letter from another attorney saying your website's not ADA compliant.
Oh my God.
So a lot of people that, have built websites 5, 6, 10 years ago, they really need to update it. That's probably been the biggest thing that we've seen. The other big mistake, and this is a lot of businesses, not just attorneys, but it's not answering reviews. It's very quick, very easy. And also don't half-ass it. Don't say thank you for your review. That's stupid. Don't even write anything if you're just going to write thank you for your review. Take advantage of that opportunity. That person has taken time out of their day. The least you could do is take a little bit of time out of yours. Right. So between websites and reputation management, I'd say those are probably the biggest two. If you haven't optimized your business listings recently, I think that's a real quick thing. There's Yext is a great program. You just drop your information in there, click a few buttons, and it's dispersed to over 300 business directories. So it doesn't have to be this big heavy lifting thing, but if you haven't done that in a while, you'd be very surprised how many people have incorrect information out on the web. Those would be probably my big three.
Wow. Paul, this has been terrific. I think I could talk to you another hour or two. This is fascinating. So yeah, we'll have to do this again. So
yeah, certainly.
How would someone best get a hold of you?
Yeah, our website is Honorable.Marketing. And on there we have our story and all the cool stuff. You can see some pictures of me when I was in Iraq, back when I was a young, dumb kid.
Saw those.
Yeah. So obviously I'm right on there. I'm really big about being a calendar follower. So I even have my calendar on there if you wanted to grab a time in my calendar to throw some ideas around. One of the things I've been doing for free for a lot of lawyers is just having some video recorded conversations to help them come up with some social content.
Oh, wow.
And it's pretty interesting. And like I said, I've done it for free for a few, because I find that a lot of law firms are kind of stuck in ruts. They want to be out there. They want to do video. They want to do this, want to do that. And they just really haven't taken that first step.
Mm-hmm.
So one of the things that's on there is you can go right to my calendar and schedule a content creation session. And I will have an FAQ of the top 20 questions that people ask in your practice areas, in your local area. And then we just record it and I ask them the questions and I ask them some follow-ups. It's, I enjoy the interview process. And what's nice about that, and now you have a video of you as an attorney answering the questions that are asked most often in your area. Great for social, great for your website, great to transcribe for a blog. Great, boom, it took a half hour of your life, right? So yeah. I also have that option on there in the contact us. And then, of course, strategy sessions, if you ever want me to take a look at your website, things like that. That's all available right on our website, Honorable.Marketing. You can also check me out on social media if you want. Our company is Honorable.Marketing. My personal one is Honorable Entrepreneur. Good luck spelling it and everything.
Yeah.
But it's all just one word, Honorable Entrepreneur. That's my personal Instagram. I don't do Facebook that much. I'm on LinkedIn quite a bit, so you can always look me up on LinkedIn. Paul Mackiewicz.
Oh, that's where I found you. So
yeah, I'm active enough over there. I get a lot of solicitations, so that's another area of opportunity for my VA, where she came in and she kind of manages some of the conversations that come in through that.
Yeah. Well, this has been great, Paul. Thank you so much for your time, your expertise, and what you had to offer today. Some really valuable stuff. And I can tell you from experience seeing my firm grow using a lot of these techniques that they totally work. And so your bit about helping a firm kind of go from nothing to get going was really, really good advice. So I want to thank you for that.
Yeah, I want to thank you for having me on. I'll tell you, I appreciate it. It's always nice getting to speak with some like-minded people, both of us interested in just positively impacting our communities. So it was an absolute pleasure.
Cool. Well, thank you.